Houston, our instruments are showing that we have a incoming message from deep space. Repeat, Houston, we have an incoming message from deep space. Houston, we'll begin playing message now. Houston, we're going to try and translate that up here. Hold for translation. Translation complete. We'll begin playing message now.
Hey, it's me, Melissa.
What do you do when the aliens invade? Take a shot of MK Ultra and watch Melissa Jade. Put on your tinfoil hat and tune right in. We got that crime spree, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, a complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all bends understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Aliens is on the sun or in Area 51. Time travels, unravels, haunted castles, cops are baffled, potential experimental thoughts that make you transcendental. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Crime sprees, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects, a mind expanding, fake moon landing, what it all bends understanding. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Oh, thank you, Dara, for being a member for 2 months. Love this channel and the community. Well, that means so much. Thank you so much, Dara. We appreciate your support more than you know, and we're happy to heart of the channel. Hi, Angela. Hi, Nika, Johnny, Jen P. Michelle says, nice to catch a live. Haven't caught one in a week. Yes, we're doing an earlier live today. I have a couple of appointments today, so I kind of did a live in between them, and ATS News is going to be live tonight. So I definitely didn't want to go live over her by the time I get home later. So I was like, let me go live earlier. She's going to be live actually tonight regarding Idaho also. So I'm going to drop her link. She's going to be live at 8:45 Eastern tonight. So make sure that you set your reminders and notifications. I very much look forward to ATS News is live. I think she's going to be live specifically regarding Idaho 4's biggest mysteries and questions, episode 2. And you know I love the biggest mysteries and questions regarding Idaho. So definitely hang out with us over there tonight. Looking forward to it. Hi, Peppermint Tea, Glowbug, my sexy wild thing. Carol freaking Claus is in the house. Oh no, is my mic going in and out? Let me know. Hi, Glowbug, Indigo, Sherry Hill, Danger Zone. Hey, Danger Zone. Hey, Kelsey What, Bell Moon, Jeff, Adrian, Jen P, BG, Harlot, oh shit, Sherry. We have Bree McGee, Pointer Lover. Let me see. Daylene. Meat Feeds, even though Meat Feeds are at our appointment. Jan. Hi, Shay. I love your new photo.
Thank you.
Is my audio going in and out, or is it just for that one subscriber?
Uh-oh.
Everyone said my sound's good. Hi KW10. Hi Violetta. Hi Shar. Hi Millennials Generation. Hey, there's ATS News. I was just telling everyone that you are going live tonight, 8:45 Eastern, with Idaho 4 Biggest Mysteries and Questions, Episode 2. And we are very, very much looking forward to that. I am super excited. So make sure your notifications are set, your reminders are on, and I can't wait for tonight. It is going in and out a little. You know what? Let me move my fan. I'm going to blame my fan because it's always my fan. And let's see if that helps. Did that help? All I did was literally put my fan away.
I think if you just kind of like
did it work?
If you just tilt your foil hat a little bit, you'll be fine.
Okay, just stand on one leg, tilt my tinfoil hat, and just shimmy. Is that it? Did that work? Yes. Good.
You sound good.
It worked. Isn't it pretty, Claus? We all love your.
Oh, thank you.
Yay!
I think this is a couple years ago. When I
all right, guys, for real though. Yeah, your hair is darker in it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it though.
Thank you.
It is glitching for you, 87. Hi, Jules. Yay! Oh my gosh, I gotta go live earlier. Look at all these people. People may. Hi.
Oh my gosh. Did you watch Jules' video with Kim?
Which on Kim? Yes, I did.
Jules, you slayed it, girl.
I know. If you guys didn't watch, Jules dropped a video. Hi, Naze. Yes, we did a pop-up live. So Jules did a video and she dropped it like 2 days ago, I think. And she did a video on the chaos sector, dropped a video on Kim WSU mom. And so Jules did a response video on it. And it's just, I just love hearing Jules commentate on Kim WSU. It's just really good. So if you haven't already watched it, definitely go check it out. It's so good. And I love her shirt in it. That's the comment I wrote. She has like the old school Nickelodeon. You got like Hey Arnold and stuff on it. It's an awesome shirt. It's a badass shirt.
I think Jules is like reaffirming all my feelings in that too. So I was like, yes,
I know. And I said to her, I'm like, I'm waiting for her to pop up because you mentioned her name 3 times and she's there. She just appears.
She's magical.
See, I told you. See, even Danger Zone says it was a good one and your shirt looked seamlessly integrated with the backdrop and tapestry. Ross for $5. See, Allie, because Allie does her tie-dye shirts and stuff. Allie sent me a tie-dye shirt and it had the old school 90s Nickelodeon on it too. And it reminded me of that. And I love it. Doesn't she? Jules is awesome. Oh, Nace, are you following the trial too? Shay was just talking to me about that. So it was day 1 of the boy in the box trial. And Shay was saying it was crazy in the courtroom today.
Yeah, that's good.
Martha, we're talking about Jewels of All Trades. So Nightbot's going to drop the link. That's the channel we're referring to as far as right here. With the awesome shirt and the video discussing Kim WSU mom. And then when I was referring to who's going live tonight about Idaho 4's biggest mystery and questions, that's going to be ATS News. And Nightbot's going to drop her link right here. Waiting for it. Here he goes. So there's both of their lovely ladies' links, and they both have amazing channels. It was, right? They don't make shows like how they used to. They definitely don't. You're welcome, Martha. Yeah. Okay. Hi, JB. So we wanted to go over a couple of things, and please let me know if my audio is going in and out for you guys. Still, let me know. I'll go out and I'll come back in. But there's been a couple of things. Hey, NT's Apple Bottom Jeans. There's been a couple of things. I'm so happy that you're up here too, Shay, while we go over this. So the first thing, I guess I'll pull up the Daily Mail article first regarding Dylan Mortensen.
Yeah, I watched a News Nation Banfield episode last night.
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, and so she's interviewing Jay Rosen Applebaum. Sorry, it's a weird name. And he's from Idaho, and he's an author, and he wrote a book that released today. And he's, I guess, one of the only people that got an exclusive interview with Dylan Mortensen's dad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because I couldn't find last night a YouTube clip on it. So I just went and watched the actual segment on Hulu. And I was trying to tell you about it last night. And then lo and behold, the articles start finally popping up. So it helps.
Definitely. So yeah, like Shay said, there is an exclusive interview that was done with Dylan Mortensen's dad. And so this is the closest that we've gotten as far as any information regarding what's going on with Dylan post-murders since yes, Jules. So we've heard really nothing regarding Dylan and Bethany thus far. And so this is the first access that we have regarding anything. And I'll be honest, I have some feelings about her dad even speaking out at all. I'm going to be honest. And I mentioned that to Shay. I'll save my commentary for after. So let's start with this first article. So this is the Daily Mail article, and it says Idaho murder victim's roommate, Dylan Mortensen, is isolating herself, but healing by gaming online with groups of friends, as her father says he is deeply heartbroken by her brutal cyberbullies. So Dylan Mortensen is a roommate of the Idaho murder victims and is reportedly isolating herself after experiencing brutal cyberbullying. Mortensen's father, Brent, said his daughter is in the process of healing. J. Reuben Appleman told Banfield on News Nation. A childhood friend of suspect Brian Kohberger said he was mercilessly and relentlessly bullied and listened to screamo music to block out the taunting. So a surviving roommate of the Idaho murders victims, Dylan Mortensen, is reportedly isolating herself after experiencing brutal dogpiling on social media since the quadruple homicide in November. New details have emerged about the well-being of the 21-year-old roommate who was in the house on the night of the brutal massacre, and told police she witnessed a man walk past her bedroom after he had killed her friends. Ew, I hate hearing my own voice go back. Author and private investigator J. Reuben Appleman is the only reporter to speak with the father of Mortensen, one of only 2 survivors from the university murder house. In the beginning, weeks after those homicides, she was basically dogpiled on social media. He said in an interview with Ashley Banfield to discuss his new book, While Idaho Slept. Vile web sleuths had accused Mortensen of being involved with the crimes, while others called her a drug dealer, among other names he added. So, a surviving roommate of the Idaho murder victims, Dylan, is reportedly isolating herself after experiencing brutal dogpiling on social media since the quadruple homicide in November. And then we have Brian, pictured Brian Kohberger, who was accused of killing the 4 students at Leda County District Court on September 13th. Mortensen saw Kohberger the night of the murders and described him as clad in black clothing and a mask with bushy eyebrows. So this was part of the trauma that she experienced, he said. Dylan herself has retreated from the public eye. Very few people see her. Mortensen's father expressed heartache over his daughter suffering from brutal cyberbullies after the trauma she experienced from surviving the November massacre. But Mortensen's father told Appelman that his daughter is in the process of healing despite being hounded by bullies. She is in trauma therapy of sorts. She's getting help from the spiritual community, he said to Banfield. Isolating herself, but she is stepping out a little at a time. She is gaming online with peers in group gaming session. She's doing what she can without going into public, he added. Mortensen and Bethany Funk, also 19, both survived the November 13th bloodbath, but lost 3 of their roommates, Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana, in the vicious attack. Xana's boyfriend, Ethan, was also murdered. Brian, a PhD student at Washington State University, was charged with the 4 murders and a charge of burglary. Idaho is a death penalty state. So initial details from an affidavit released in January said that Mortensen opened her door to find a man clad in black clothing and a mask with bushy eyebrows. In the affidavit, police described how Mortensen froze in fear early on November 13th after spotting the killer, having opened her bedroom door after hearing noises in the 6-bedroom rental home. The witness is described as standing in a frozen shock phase as the man walked towards the house's back door before she locked herself in her room. She had opened the door twice before, once after hearing Kaylee say someone was in the house, and again after the sound of crying came from Xana's bedroom. The teen then told police she had locked herself in her second-floor bedroom after the encounter with the killer, who was wearing a ski mask at the time, but didn't dial 911, which I thought was interesting. I didn't hear a ski mask.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? They never clarified what type of mask.
I want to get the audiobook of this because it was just released today, and I would drop the link for people if they're curious who this author is and the person who's stating they talked with Dylan's dad.
And I would like to know if ski mask is coming from Mortensen's father, or if ski mask is, because that's not quoted. So I want to know if that's just something they added in the article themselves, or if that's coming directly from Mortensen's dad. I think that's extremely important to note.
Absolutely.
Police weren't called to the scene until 11:58 a.m., 7.5 hours after the student died. Funk is believed to have slept through the attack in her ground floor bedroom. According to the affidavit, Mortensen said she was awoken around 4 a.m. by what sounded like Gonsalves playing with her dog in a third-floor bedroom. A short time later, she heard Gonsalves say, "There's someone here," the haunting affidavit reveals. Mortensen looked out her bedroom door but didn't see anything. The second time she opened her door, she heard a male voice say something like, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At 4:17 a.m., a neighbor's security camera picked up audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times. Mortensen stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and a nose walking towards her. So again, as you can see there, a mask. Never before have we had that clarification of what type of mask. The family of victim Kaylee Gonsalves have defended Mortensen's actions. Attorney Shannon Gray, who is representing the Gonsalves family, said Mortensen was likely scared to death when she encountered the man and insisted that she was still a victim in this case. So this is J. Reuben Appelman. He is the true crime author and investigator. He is the author of While Idaho Slept and The Kill Jar, and he is the executive producer of Children of the Snow. Appelman is the only reporter who Mortensen's father agreed to speak to. He said Mortensen's father told him that his daughter is in the process of healing despite being hounded by the press and online cyberbullies. So in his interview, Appelman also described meeting with a childhood friend of Kohberger, who said the alleged murder was mercilessly and relentlessly bullied in high school to the point that he had to listen to screamo music through earbuds to block out the taunting. The friend reportedly rode the bus with him to school every day. This young woman had told me that she wished not to be named, but she told me quite a bit about him, he said to Banfield. She said that he was bullied almost constantly as a junior high student, as was she. They were both nerds who didn't fit in, she said. They were very close. They sat together on the bus almost every day. Kohberger, she said, listened to music in his earbuds to block out the bullying, to block out the sort of chaos and darkness of the time period that he was living through, he added. She said that the administrators of their schools did nothing about bullying at the time. Kohberger would walk around the halls listening to screamo music and at times hip-hop and rap. Appelman, who was a 25-year Idaho resident, was the first reporter Mortensen's father agreed to speak to. He lives just a couple of... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I did notice that on YouTube, the clip of him talking about Brian being bullied, that was available on YouTube.
Yeah, can you grab the clip and send it to me?
Yeah.
I'll play it after. Thank you.
Yes.
So it says he lives just a couple of miles from the Mortensen residence, which he said may have given him an in. When I went to speak to her father, I was able to just walk up to his house. Many national news correspondents had tried the same thing, Appelman told Banfield. They hadn't gotten very far. He's a rather large, intimidating man. I don't know if that's part of the reason why national correspondents couldn't sort of break that wall and talk to him. On why Appelman was the first reporter Mortensen's father agreed to speak with, he said, I don't know if I caught him on the right day or what, but he hadn't spoke to anybody else. He had turned down the New York Times. I had Idaho plates on my car. Maybe that had something to do with it. I've lived here for 25 years almost. I live just a couple of miles from Dylan Mortensen, actually, and a couple of miles in the other direction from her father, he added. I was able to pull up to his house. He answered the door. I told him, as an Idaho guy researching this book, and I don't know if I caught him on the right day or what, but he hadn't spoken to anybody else. He had a very large dog that was watching me very carefully. And I think Brent Mortensen was watching me very carefully too. He has a lot of reason to distrust reporters. So wow, guys, that's really interesting. Okay. Now, as far as the friend who all right, let's separate what Dylan's dad said from the friend who spoke out. Regarding the friend who spoke out, I'm sorry, I don't put much validity into it. I don't.
Are you talking about that YouTube video?
Thank you.
Can I add one thing that is not on here?
Yes, please do.
That was mentioned was I don't recall. You could correct me if when reading that, but I do recall on the Banfield full segment last night, he discussed, if you guys remember, that there was a picture taken that people believed was Dylan running home to her house.
Yep.
Do you guys remember that?
I'll pull up the photo. Yeah.
Okay, so apparently Dylan's dad said that was really intrusive because that wasn't Dylan. That was her little 17-year-old sister running back from Starbucks.
So if you guys remember, after the murders, there was this photo allegedly captured, and it was the first time that we had saw Dylan after the murders.
Allegedly, yeah.
Except it wasn't Dylan, but it was Dylan's younger sister. Okay. And that's what we all kind of knew it wasn't Dylan because it doesn't look like Dylan, but this is what they tried to say.
Right.
They tried to say it was Dylan, but Dylan's dad said, I'll drop the link right now, Jules. So Dylan's dad said it was extremely, like Shay said, intrusive because guess what? That was my other child. That was Dylan's sister. But that's how far they were going. That was Dylan. Ew. I hate hearing my own voice. I'm trying to multitask and I can never multitask. So here you go, Jules. This is the News Nation clip that I'm about to play with Applebum. So this is how far they were willing to go to grab photos of his child and how intrusive they were being, which, yeah, that's media. You know, oh, no, Shay, that's media. That's what they're going to do. But that's how uncomfortable his child is. He is as a dad, that they were even getting photos. But it's interesting to know that that was her sister. It is interesting. Hey, malicious intent. It is very interesting. Hey, Delana. So here, let me play the clip of the News Nation segment. And we still have more articles to go over. We lost you there.
I know. I thought my audio issue would be fixed when I fix my phone, but I guess it's just been wonky with StreamYard, so sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, so let's take a listen. This is the author of, again, the book that was released today. It's released today.
While Idaho slept.
While Idaho slept. And this is the only person so far who has had communication with Dylan's father. And so this is the only insight as of yet that we have into what Dylan has been up to, how she's been, what's going on since the murders occurred.
Yeah.
I've been told from mutual friends that she is gaming online with peers in group gaming sessions, and she's doing what she can without breaking real out into public. You know, there's so many people that are hounding her. You know, I had a paparazzi guy tell me on the phone, you know, I could get you a lot of money for a photo of her. And that's not how we work in Idaho.
I mean, this isn't a celebrity. She's not Taylor Swift. She is a victim of a horrendous crime. She was there, witnessed it. She will never be the same. This poor child not only went through that horror and lost her best friends, but she's now been cyber bullied by just a relentless online mob. And I can't even imagine how she in her early 20s is coping, let alone her father having to watch this. I wanted to ask you one other thing that I found super interesting in your book, and that is that you found a friend of Brian Kohberger's who rode the bus with him to school every day. And this girl had some really significant insight on how Brian grew up, what kind of kid he was, and how other kids treated him. What was it? What was her account?
Yeah. Yeah, this young woman had told me, she wished not to be named, but she told me quite a bit about him. She said that he was bullied almost constantly as a junior high student, as was she. They were both nerds who didn't fit in. She said they were very close. They sat together on the bus almost every day. Brian Kohberger, she said, listened to music in his earbuds to block out the bullying, to block out the sort of chaos and darkness of the time period that he was living through. She said that the administrators of their schools did nothing about bullying at the time. So Kohberger will walk around the halls listening to screamo music and at times hip hop and rap. She said that if you were in junior high and you were bullied by somebody near your locker, which is how junior high students integrate, basically, who's next to your locker, right? That continued into high school because the lockers were assigned alphabetically in the Pleasant Valley district, which she called, by the way, colloquially, Pregnant Valley, because she said there's rampant teen pregnancy and lots of social based issues. And it just sounded like a really dark place. And what we know from other reporting from the Idaho Statesman, my good buddy here in town, there's a lot of heroin use, a lot of OxyContin use, a lot of drugs, a lot of darkness. And Brian Kohberger, as a really heavily bullied student, slid really easily into that. We know about his drug use. What we didn't know so much is the constant bullying that she talked about. Some point,
I'm fascinated in that only because that will be something that his defense attorney will seize upon if he's convicted, and if there's a secondary, trial for the death penalty, they will bring that in potentially as some kind of a mitigating factor. Hey, J. Reuben Applebaum, I have to leave it there. The book comes out tomorrow. It is called While Idaho Slept, The Hunt for Answers in the Murder of 4 College Students. I'm going to call on you again. You've got some great insight. You've done some fantastic interviews. Thank you for this. Thank you for watching.
Okay.
Go to news.
I have
constant
to say,
bullying that she talked.
Hey, J. Reuben Applebaum.
Lots of
Okay. The bottom of the screen right there. The Kohberger reportedly listened to screamo music. I'm sorry, this bothers me. I don't like that. Now, screamo music is not my particular taste in music, but
what is screamo music?
What I don't like about that is you are putting people into specific labels and categories. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the West Memphis 3 case, where you took these boys, right, that have this image, right, this goth-like image, who listen to this metal music, and then make that synonymous with killers, as if screamo music is synonymous with evil. I don't like that. What does screamo music have to do with being a murderer? What do you think, Shay?
I don't even know what screamo music is. I'm sorry.
I would assume it's like that. You know, that type of music?
Oh, no. I mean,
that's my best impression, I think.
But he did a rap song, so he's very eclectic in his music choices.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think that's either way. You're labeling. You're putting them into this category as if the type of music is indicative of his actions. Come on.
I don't know, because I mean, I guess I'm I'm just lost for words. Like I can understand, like I am very like I emote
Sorry,
through
guys.
music. I'm very empathic and I feel that. So maybe I could see a sense of like you can release your anger through it, but I would never classify liking a genre of music as somebody's like mental health like state of mind. You know what I mean? Like I think it has its outlets.
I'm laughing because they're all very supportive of my impression.
Of course.
I don't like labeling people. And okay, I have found it peculiar that more people hadn't spoken up from Brian's past, but right, like ATS News says, I was emo and I listened to Screamo. I haven't killed anyone. Laugh out loud. No one even talked about murder that I can think of. I don't know. I just didn't like the music part of it. Right, like I blasted Insane Clown Posse and Twisted as a teen. So, well, what is that? It would have been one thing if
Well, I think if you take away from the screamo, I don't like how
right,
News Nation is kind of sensationalizing that by putting it on the screen. I think it's more indicative that he may have been in a place where he was unhappy, whether that's with
right,
himself or the way he was treated.
right. And if they had just omitted the type of music, I feel like the point would have been made a lot better. Like, okay, listen, he suffered from a lot of bullying, right? And he had a childhood friend speak up. This was their experience. They traveled on the bus together every day. He would tend to listen to music on his headphones to escape from a lot of the verbal abuse that was happening. But for you to say he would reportedly listen to screamo music as if that indicates something, I don't like that.
I think it's, I know, I get it. I think you're trying to put a PR twist on it where if you were, okay, think about whenever Kohberger got arrested. There was still this push to get more information from people on him. And I think when people are thinking back to their past, they're looking for signs of maybe why somebody could have been in a headspace or done something like this. And like maybe to the person who's communicating it to the author, their like perception is like the screamo music's this loud, like emotive thing. But if I were the author, I probably wouldn't go out and probably, put that all over the news as it being a reason or, I don't like that label. But that's just, I'm thinking like probably the person who was being interviewed was looking for signs,
Right.
and they interpreted like
Yes.
this is that thing.
But exactly what you just said also is why I don't rely too much on like people's, all right, like as far as, all right, hey, I did grow up and I went to school with him. That's your experience and your perspective. And now that you know what he's being charged with, now you're going back in your memory and you're trying to pick out things that would accurately that would in your mind explain what could have possibly led to this, if that makes sense. And I don't rely on other people's, because people's memories are warped, people's perspectives are warped, and everyone's experience is individual to themselves. So what she may have been observing from her experience, really, we cannot attribute what Brian went through to her. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know how to explain it.
It does. It does. I think there's an innocence into the question of getting to know who he was and maybe the perception of how people like take that information, but it's not for us to control people's interpretation of it. I have, like, I think I've told you, I have a friend or like he was like my crush, like puppy love crush in elementary school that I found out that he murdered somebody. And really shocked me because when asked about what he was like, I recall us, going, like skateboarding and, you know, wearing Jinkos and listening to like Sublime and Ozzy, and like those are just culturally things like I remember. It doesn't mean because we did those things that's why he did the awful thing that he did. But to me, like those are just my memories. So I kind of behoove it upon
Right.
the author to have responsibility in
Yeah.
that, but also like again, it's perception.
Right. It's kind of like my cousin Vinny, you know, like with the old lady on the stand, you know, like how you can't rely on individuals. Point is that when I hear about someone from like a suspect's past speaking out, especially like a past, you know, like just kind of like Jules said, all right, you're telling me about junior high school type of thing. All right. Not that I totally dismiss it. I make a little mental note of it and I say, okay, interesting. And I keep that little mental note in my brain, but I don't harp on it. Like I won't take it and run with it. I won't take it as fact. I'll just make a little mental note of it. But other than that, I don't put too much weight into it. I won't like go out from here on out and be like, so listen, someone from his past spoke up and they said he was brutally bullied and this is what he listened to escape. And I won't take that as fact, and I will not say that with certainty moving forward. No, I have the little mental note of it, and I'll see moving forward if other things align with that, but I will not incorporate that into my opinion as fact. I will not do it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Now, as far as what he's saying with Dylan and Dylan's father, why do you think Dylan's father agreed to speak to this man versus, let's say, the New York Times, like he used as an example? What made him speak out now? And what I found interesting is he said in the article that Dylan was in a type of therapy of sorts, you know, like, let me see exactly where it said. It said, she is in a trauma therapy of sorts. She's getting help from the spiritual community. So what I'm taking from that is that's not standard therapy, that you're going in a different type of route, that
A different holistic route.
Right. Not that I'm bashing it. I'm all for it, but you're not getting conventional therapy. You're going a different route.
Yeah, I wouldn't discount though if she's had conventional. I don't think we know this is still alleged, but I do think that maybe he was able to talk with Dylan's dad because he is local. It seems like just from his site, like, I don't know, because I was kind of thinking from the side of like what he shares, like maybe he's doesn't have like a PR person to kind of like reel it in a little bit on the news or the news channel that will run with it, you know. But he just seems like a local guy that is trusted. He has friends that he states are reporters for the Idaho Statesman, so he has been close to this case and living there. And you know how it is when people tend to want to talk to the locals. They didn't want all the national media. And if you guys recall, like the first press that was like on the scene was the Argonaut, which was the student newspaper, you know, and they were upset that all the big media was coming in. So I think that the community feels probably a little bit more comfortable talking to some of their own in relation because they're all affected by it and they can relate in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think he shared so much. Like, it just sounds like he treated him very human-like, very surface level, and shared that, like, they're hurting, which was to be expected.
Absolutely. That's to be expected. I'm curious about the ski mask. Again, I'm curious if that was something that was verbally relayed, not realizing that that was like a slip and so it was put in there, or if it was just added because of an assumption. I'm really curious about that because that would be
But we heard he was wearing a mask.
We know he was wearing a mask. Nothing about a ski mask.
But a ski mask would make sense if all you could see were the eyebrows.
Yeah, but we don't know, right?
But it logically makes sense. Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know, but I want to know. Like, yeah, we can sit here and say this logically makes sense now, but we don't know. But that's what I'm saying. I'd like to know. I'd like to know.
I don't think it would be a COVID mask. I mean, we're past
No, no. And so this article says how the Idaho murder victims' lives are detailed in a chilling new book. So just days after J. Reuben Appleman heard that the 4 students had been stabbed to death in their home, he headed to Moscow. Appleman, an author and private investigator, previously spent 10 years digging into the unsolved case of the Oakland County child killer and wrote a deeply personal book about it called The Kill Jar. He says he wasn't sure at first what he was doing in Moscow, a tiny college town that captured the world's attention after the 4 university of students were killed. I was following the case like everybody else was, Appleman told Newsweek. I just went there and I rented a motel room and I started talking to people. The case felt close to home for Appleman, who has lived in Boise for more than 2 decades and has a daughter who attended the U of I. I'm not somebody who jumps on the next murder beat, so to speak, he said. I just worry about things happening in my backyard, and this case is deeply rooted in my community that I've spent 25 years in. Weeks later, he was in the middle of writing a proposal for a book when an arrest in the case was made more than 2,500 miles away in Pennsylvania. Appleman spent the next 6 months researching and writing while Idaho slept the hunt for answers in the murders of 4 Idaho students, which is set to be released today. Brian Kohberger is charged with the 4 counts of murder. A judge entered not guilty pleas on his behalf. Appleman's book shines a light on the gruesome nature of the murders. Our imaginations are strong enough, he said, and doesn't mention Kohberger's name until more than halfway through. His paramount focus is on the 4 young people who lost their lives prematurely. The faces of the 4 slain students have been widely shared on social media and in news reports, but Appleman's book takes a significant number of pages to paint a picture of who Gonsalves, Mogan, Kernodle, and Chapin were before they lost their lives. I wanted to elevate the memory of the victims, Appleman said. These are real kids. You know, they look pretty on TV, they make good news stories, but they ran around in little pajamas and ate snacks at snack time, just like everybody else when they were little. The most difficult aspect of writing the book was approaching the families of the victims and asking them to talk. We're not talking about a cold case, he said. These people were still in mourning. They still are. So to get information out of them was not my main task. I felt like I'm going to write the story that I know that I can write, and I hope that they'll want to participate, and some of them did, but it really took a lot of precaution to not invade their privacy or their mourning. And I think that they will be happy with the book because the book in many ways memorializes their kids. He also feels that what he has written is something that will appeal both to people who know little about the case and the online sleuths who followed every development, searched for clues, and shared theories on social media. It's an incredible primer for going into trial, so to speak. If you want to know about this case right now, read this book and then follow the trial. The true crime buffs might know 75 or 80% of what's in the book already, but they'll be happy to see that certain things like the mention of this guy, Papa Roger, or the mention of other theories. They'll be happy to see that because there's a lot of what feels like truth to some of these theories. I wrote them in because I want to acknowledge them for all the work they've done. He didn't say whether he believes Kohberger is guilty as charged. It's just not my place to do that, he said, adding, I feel like everywhere I looked into him, I got the same answers. This was a troubled person from junior high on. So, what do you think about that?
I'm definitely interested to listen to the book. To be honest, my ADHD, I can't sit and read unless it's court papers that I have to pay attention to. So I will be getting the audiobook, hopefully, like tonight if I can.
And I'll be getting the recap from you.
Yes. Or I'll just give you my login and you can listen.
Honestly, again, I'm a visual person, so unless I can see something, I really do struggle listening. I could try though. Joel says we won't be happy to see anything in that book about Papa Roger unless he knows the truth about who they are and tells it in the book. If not, this is literally just self-promotion, in my opinion. That's what I said to Jules. I said, yeah, I don't think there's gonna. I mean, listen, if he went to all the families and wants to write about each of the victims and memorialize them and give them, listen, that's absolutely, and they give their blessing, go for it, you know, right. But don't portray it as, hey, this is going to be like, you know, inside information and, you know, it's not. But I honestly, I'm kind of like, why would you write a book when we don't have all the answers? You know what I mean? I don't know. Like,
there's already been books released.
Really?
Yeah, on Amazon. And yeah, I mean, look, Howard Bloom has been writing out his articles too.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it would be interesting to hear it from a local perspective. I really do enjoy kind of hearing a little bit more like from that side and the community. I don't know about you, but like when I get into like cases, I don't just want to hear about the case. I want to hear like the community's reactions, how it affects people. Cause I mean, you got to kind of like put yourself in their shoes almost. I mean, I feel like that's part of why, I don't know, you get into it or like you become an advocate for the victims.
Okay. Truth exposed. One, don't pop the caps locks in my chat. I can see your comments just fine when I'm not sharing my screen. If I'm reading an article, that means I'm on a different screen and I can't see the chat. Number two, you don't know that. There's no possible way you could know that unless you're privy to something that the rest of us aren't and you want to share with the class. You're making an assumption, right? And you're allowed your opinion, but we can't state things as fact if we don't know that as fact, okay? And I'm not sure about what mysterious cowboys that went into the house later at night and ignored the reporter. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Suds. See, but that's my entire point. See, you're making an assumption. I understand that you have an issue with how can you not smell blood when 4 people had been stabbed? Absolutely, you could look at the factors and have an issue, but you can't make the determination that you, like Dylan, physically saw their bodies before calling 911. You can't do that because you don't know. You don't know she ever left her bedroom. We need to be fair here.
Yeah.
Strip drop. Sorry,
I was gonna ask, what was that other one too that we were gonna go over as well, outside of the author that came out? It was on my mind. The slamming of the DNA evidence. Did you still want to go over that?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm going to go over next. No, I don't know she didn't. I don't know she did either. I don't know either way. That's all I'm saying, though. I can't say definitively one way or the other. She might have.
They are FBI, and they're from a different field office. That was confirmed, and I have documentation of that. I have to go find it, but it was FBI. I thought it was Marshall's too.
And C. King, that doesn't mean Xana fought back. Defensive wounds are not synonymous with fighting back. Yes, her fingers were nearly severed, okay? Those are defensive wounds. I'm not saying she didn't fight back, but I'm saying defensive wounds are not indicative of fighting back. Defensive wounds means that she would have been defending herself, meaning she would have been going to grab onto the knife, and when she went to grab the knife, he would have pulled the knife out, slicing and severing the fingers. So I'm not arguing that there absolutely could have been a struggle in a fight, but what I'm saying is there's a difference between defensive wounds and a struggle, like fighting back. There is a difference, even though I'm not saying that she didn't. I'm just saying there's a difference. And as of now, we don't know. I think there was a struggle. Let me be clear. I do think there was. I just don't know based on the information we have so far.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Steve mentioned in an interview, based on what the coroner said to him, there was a struggle on the second floor. Well,
hold on. I just pulled up my. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Goodbye, Deborah. Thank you for being here. Okay, people can get mad. Okay, when I refer back to what we know as fact, let me be clear. That does not mean that I don't have my opinions of things, okay? I have my opinions, but I make it very clear what is my opinion versus what we know as fact. And I will not state something as fact if I don't know it to be fact yet. I will make sure it's stated as speculation or opinion first. You could get mad at that and stomp your feet and leave, but I would think that that's a respectable thing to do. If not, you know how to leave. It's amazing to me that people will get mad at that.
I don't know. I try not to be biased and be open. Hey, Tiff. But I don't know. This is just a very controversial case, so I'm more than ready for trial.
Well, it's funny because I'm actually like agreeing. My opinion agrees, but I'm making it known that we don't know. And so like my opinion actually aligns with what she's saying, but I'm going to make it clear we don't know for a fact. And it's like, no, you need to say it as fact. No, I'm not going to say it as fact because we don't know it as fact. Sorry. Facts don't care about your feelings. All right, so we have the next article, okay? Oh, no, not you, Truth Exposed. I'm sorry, I'm not referring to you. Let me be clear. I wasn't referring to you, Truth Exposed. I was referring to somebody else.
So Whoopi mentioned, and I guess I'll just state that, like a woman survived and was at a crime scene years ago, and she spoke out that it's possible the girls delayed knowing. Yes, I'm aware. Yes, that is true. I believe that was one of the victims or sites or crime scenes of Bundy. But yeah, I do remember that. I remember her being interviewed, so I'm aware that will happen. I mean, I don't know.
I struggle, you know.
I think we all struggle, but like, I think, you know, was it you and I that were discussing this, or maybe Amber, that like, even if like you find out like what was happening within those 8 hours, like, are you going to be happy with it or not? Maybe it was nice, you know, because it might not fit your narrative or what you want it to be. So I don't know if people are going to be satisfied either way.
Yeah. Well, but then that's the problem when you become confirmation biased, when you're only accepting information that confirms your opinion of things, that's a problem, right? Because the only thing that should matter is the truth. What happened? It's not our truth. It's not what we want it to be. It's what happened to the victim. So it doesn't matter if it's complete opposite of what we thought it was, if it happens to align with what we thought it was. It is what it is. And we shouldn't become defensive about what our opinion is if the truth happens to not align with it. It is what it is. And the only thing at the end of the day that matters is that these victims' truth becomes exposed so that the person who did this to them is held accountable. That's it.
Yeah. Danger zone. You know,
Oh, I don't think so, C. King. I was just explaining the difference. I think there was a struggle. I'm just saying, though, they do not use defensive wounds and fighting, like, and struggling synonymously. Deborah.
I think that Xana was definitely awake, but I don't know about Ethan. I feel like there's a lot of sources and controversy. Like, especially if you go and you look at, like, I mean, I hope you're okay with me mentioning this, but like how we have seen like News Nation have sources, which I have felt like are close to the Gonzalez family because they match what Drunk Turkey Show has shared based on allegedly their conversations with Christy, which was hearsay information from what we know how they found the victims. But then you hear like Watsy Obsession, where she allegedly has, 2 Sigma Chi fraternity brothers at Ethan's that she talks to that a very different story. And so like there's a lot of polar opposite things here. And so like I really don't know what to believe, but I'm open to hearing the theories on stuff, but I'm not set one way. I just want to get to the trial and get to the truth.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But I have a feeling I know where Deborah's from. But I thought you were leaving, Debbie. Come on. I thought you were leaving, girl. You're still hanging around here. Hi, Allie. Hi,
Just
Sue.
say like, oh, sorry.
God.
They just say like, in my opinion, or I believe, or something. It will go on easier in the chat, and you won't fight as much probably. Like, and I know Tiff's in chat. Like Tiff, like we agree sometimes, we don't agree. We're all friends. A lot of the different opinions are good.
Okay.
You're right.
I'm just saying, no, but what I'm saying, I was Googling something because when they say, oh, did they fight back? All I'm saying is defensive wounds doesn't mean that they fought back. Defensive wounds just indicated that they raise their arms to protect their head, face, or to fend off an assailant. Not necessarily they fought back, aka like a fight or struggle occurred, even though I believe one did on the second floor.
And I think we've heard from several prior law enforcement, like this, a similar scenario. I think it's more in terms of what people perceive to be defensive or versus what is the terminology in criminal law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Deborah, you could leave if you disrespect my chat. Those are members here, Deborah. And you could leave if you're going to be disrespectful.
Did you write Deborah?
Deborah. Oh, I did, and I didn't even mean to. Actually, no, not necessarily, Mr. Amsaretti. So an attack could have started while they were sleeping, and then defensive wounds could have occurred once you would have woken up. The same way, a lot of people had issues in the murder of Shanann Watts because Shanann's autopsy, there was no nothing indicative of defensive wounds, meaning there was nothing that showed that there was any type of struggle that she even fought off. And when you're being strangled, you're not going to just lay there.
Well, I mean, I think, okay, so from my understanding, like you're going to have your natural fight or flight, right? And
you just
unless
needed to hear more to pass on. If that's what you're doing, you're here to collect information to go to run to other streams with. That says more about you, Deb. Okay? And I know where you're coming from because it's very obvious just by your comments who you're coming from. So run along, report back. You did a great job. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it kind of reminds me of like when you're having a bit of a fight or flight like reaction. Unless that initial stab wound was the lethal one, then they say like when you are sleeping, you can still feel pain. So, I mean, it wouldn't be too much to think that like the body would move or somebody awakens, but I don't think there was like a fight.
See, on the second floor with Xana and Ethan, I thought there was a struggle. I did. I didn't think that it was just defensive wounds. I thought that there was going to be Ethan and Brian physically struggling with one another, things being knocked over. But when I say I can't say that definitively, that's all I'm saying. See, that's my opinion. My opinion actually aligns with what you were originally saying, Deb. But I'm never going to state that as fact because we don't have that information yet. That's, all we have is Xana has defensive wounds. So I don't know that Xana was up and fighting Brian. I know that Xana, her hands were up and she was defending herself. That's it. That's all I can say definitively as of now. ATS News says defense wounds is an injury received by the victim of an attack while trying to defend against assailant, often found on the hands or forearms of a victim, raised them to protect themselves. Right. Now, the difference is if they were fighting back, that would be a struggle of Xana, let's say, trying to secure the knife and fight back. That is different. Your body will actually go and have defense mechanisms even if you were unconscious. Like the same way that you cannot drown yourself. Like unless like you were tied and weighted down, if you tried to hold yourself underwater, okay, at a certain point, your body is naturally going to push up to get to that air. Subconsciously, it's going to happen because your body's going to go into fight or flight mode because it's going to defend itself because it's going to know what it's going to do to survive. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I got to jump down because I got to go get Bay. But I will
okay.
talk with you in a little while.
All right, Jade. Love you.
Love you. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming. Okay, so I'm going to go into this article. Yes, I remember he did ATS News. You're right. Xana's father had mentioned very early on that her fingers were nearly severed, which, yes, that makes sense. That does make sense that she was awake and alert, and she did try to grab onto the knife. Sadly, horribly, it's so sad. And that knife was pulled out and almost severed the fingers. Thank you so much, Carol Claus, for gifting memberships. That's so awesome of you. Congratulations to the recipients. Thank you so much, Claus. And then, who are you calling a dumbass, Matt Malo? I hope you're not calling me a dumbass. Claus. Cheers. But then I also remember the mentioning of bruises. You are right. I would think the bruising of a knife, what that would mean, and I'm not trying to get too graphic, and I apologize because I'm not too educated with knives, but the part of the knife where the blade and the handle meets, whatever that part that sticks out. So if you're stabbing with a lot of force, the part where that handle, I don't know what it's called, I apologize, that part that sticks out would actually hit against the body, and that would cause bruising. Is it called the hilt? The hilt, is that what it's called, Harlot? So once the blade is in as far as it can go, whatever that part is that hits, hilt, okay, the guard, yeah, whatever that is, would hit against, and it could cause bruising. It is terrifying to think about. So you are under the belief, Mr. Amsarati, that multiple people were involved? I respect your opinion. I don't personally believe that, but I understand everyone has the differing opinions with it. Hi, Earth Angel. You don't think so, Sea King? I don't think so either. How many? Okay, put a 1 in the chat if you believe one person committed these murders. Put a 2 in the chat if you think multiple people committed these murders. Put a 1 if you think just one person committed the murders. Put 2 if you think multiple people. 1 is 1, 2 is multiple. Violetta says 2, Sud says 2, Sally says 2, ATS 1, 1, Brooke says 1.5, Harlot says 1, Commercial says 2. One, 2, Jewel says 2, Claudia 2, Kim 1, Adrian 1, 1. Carol says it was either 1 or 2 attacking each at the same time. Yeah, there's a lot that isn't explained, right, Sea King? So it would be a lot easier if we had multiple attackers to explain away certain things, but I really don't think it was. Amber L says 2. Matt Lowe says 2. Claus says 1.5. Rebecca says 1. Tim says 2. Chi-Chi says 2. Ava says 1. Jewel says 2. You think multiples, Jules? Truth Exposed says Brian committed the murders. Peppermint Tea says 1. 87 Uno. Bell Moon 1. Danger Zone 1.5. So we really have mixed here. Seems like 50-50. I just don't see how there was something happening in one of the rooms and literally no one called 911. I feel like someone would have had to know if these were at one time. I feel like, and this is the problem that we're going to have. Salty Sleuth 1.5. I feel like this is the problem we're going to have without cameras in the courtroom. Unfortunately, with this case in particular, if we don't have that transparency and we don't have access to hearing the answers and that information, people are not going to be satisfied. And I say that, and I'm aware that not everybody has to be satisfied, but you want that reassurance that the right person is being held accountable and that this horrific murder or murderers aren't running rampant on the streets. And I don't like the idea of not having that transparency. I really think it was likely one person, but with that, I have to believe there was screaming, at least from one of the victims, like Xana or Kaylee, because we know for sure they were awake. Yeah, so now more than ever, I think the sound that Dylan heard that she thought was Kaylee playing with Murphy, after Kaylee's parents came out and explained Kaylee being trapped between Maddie and the wall, I started thinking about that more. And I don't know why I didn't think about it beforehand. But if she was trying to get out at all, and hold on, let me pull up a visual. Okay, I'll pull up that article in a second. But if the purple is Maddie and the pink is Kaylee, thank you, Jordan, for being a member for 7 months. I hope you have a fabulous day too. If the purple is Maddie and the pink is Kaylee, and Maddie was killed first, Kaylee would have woken up. And yes, Kaylee's parents are saying that there's evidence that indicates she woke up and she tried to get out, but she was trapped. I think with the limited information that they do have, what they'd be basing that on was Kaylee's body position and the wounds themselves. I think that Kaylee most likely may have been face down at the foot of the bed, which indicates she may have tried to get up and get out, because towards the foot of the bed is where the door was. And that's where she would have had to climb out to get out. But she would have been banging up against that wall. And anybody who has slept on the inside of a bed with someone sleeping on the outside, you know, the blankets, if you have to try to get out from underneath the blankets, you kind of get trapped because you have the person on the outside of you, and then the blankets are tucked between the wall and the bed. So you kind of have to kick your legs out to get those blankets out, to get your body out. So I imagine her arm and leg would have been hitting that wall. And it was those bumps and sounds that Dylan may have been hearing that she could have perceived to be Kaylee and Murphy playing. Okay, I'll show the door view. 1 second. One second. Okay. So this is, if you're looking into Maddie's room, you see the foot of the bed is right to the left. You walk into Maddie's room and it's immediately to the left, the foot of that bed. And then this one. So, right, this is kind of like that foot of the bed right in that area would have been where Kaylee would have been trying to like climb over to get out, because Brian or the killer would have been standing to the right, would have been standing right over here, most likely stabbing, sorry to say, but stabbing Maddie. So I would imagine the struggle of Kaylee waking up, realizing what's going on, and trying to get out of this somewhat trapped situation and hitting up against the wall in the struggle could have been the noises that Dylan heard. ATS News says, remember Mark Furman allegedly talked to roommates who said they heard noises, but they thought it was partying and locked their doors. They heard something. They absolutely heard something. I don't disagree, Mr. I'm So Ready, because it actually makes sense that if let's go with Brian, if Brian is indeed the killer, okay? If Brian was wearing coveralls or anything that had like a deep pocket in them, and the sheath was in the pocket, and he attacked Maddie first, and he was standing over here, he had to then bend over Maddie to get to Kaylee. Well, when he bent over, if you've ever had something in your pocket and you bend over, the action of bending can sometimes push whatever's in your pocket up. And it could have very easily, given that the sheath was very long. How long was it, Wolfie? Like 12, 13 inches long? It could have very easily pushed right out of his pocket. And where would it have landed? It actually would have landed right beside Mogan, where it was found. I understand that there's a lot of issues people have. I have them too, but I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for trial for us to be given the information before I'm like, listen, the truth may very well be that Dylan did hear things. We know she did hear things. It's not a matter of did or did she not hear them. She did hear things. The question is, did she know what she was hearing? Meaning, she did hear Xana crying. She did hear thumps and whatever. But did she know murders were occurring? Did she know her roommates were being slaughtered? it very well may be a very bad judgment call was made. And so it's not going to be like an answer that we're all happy with, but it may just be the answer that, yeah, she heard it. And yeah, she didn't call. She didn't know they were being killed, but she told herself that she was being ridiculous and she didn't do shit. Like, I don't know. Well, okay, because where is it? So Vix, it was partially under Vix. And is it so, again, you're not accounting for the fact that there were 2 victims in this bed, and you don't think any movement at all was occurring in this bed? That if this sheath, this huge sheath, very long sheath, came out of this pocket, that if there was any movement at all from Kaylee, even a nudge, and it somewhat got pushed underneath Maddie, you don't think that's possible? I know, Danger Zone, listen, I know. I have issues too. I agree with it. Yeah, the sheath itself was a foot long. Keep that in mind. I'm hoping that at trial. Oh, I agree with that, Sea King. I have major issues with the coroner. Okay, here. You know what? Before we go on, let me read this article, okay? So let's read this article and then we can continue the conversation because I feel like we're going into this territory anyway. I think that might be what we get as the answer, Harlot. And again, I'm not saying it's the answer we want. I'm not saying it's the answer we're going to be satisfied, but that very well may be the answer. I don't know. Thank you, Punksy, for the $1.99 super sticker. It's very kind of you. A sheath. Girl, come on, you know I love you. But who said... Why are you asking a question like that, Vix? Because you know a sheath didn't murder anyone. The knife murdered. Like, you know that, girl. Come on. You're too smart for that. I don't know. That, listen, if the sheath was on the belt, the only way that sheath came off was if he unbuckled the belt. But with already the tight time frame we're working with, I don't think that belt ever came undone, but possible. All right, but here, let me read this. Okay, so this says, hey, me feets. Well, that would be totally something different. I don't think so, Claudia. That's a great question. Claudia asks, any chances of, I think she meant Kaylee, ripping the sheath out of Brian's belt in the struggle and locate under Maddie to leave it as a clue? It's a great question. I do not think that's possible because it's a loop. So it would have had to take a lot of strength to rip that off. It is possible, but I think it would have to a lot of force. Again, it's just an infinite loop, so it's not like a buckle or anything. It's just a loop that goes right through the belt. So very hard to pull that off. Thank you, Jordan. I think it's simple. They didn't know it was murder. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, and I think that might be the answer we get. And no, it's not going to be satisfactory for everyone. No, it's not going to be satisfactory in regards to the 8-hour time gap we have. No, I'm not going to be satisfied as far as, okay, if you didn't know anybody was murdered, then why was friends summoned? Right? Like, to open that door. Why didn't you ever go up to check on Kaylee Maddie? There are questions that need answers. But all I'm saying is I'm waiting to trial to see if we get those answers before I jump the gun. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Thank you, Dara. Dara says, I really like that you interact with your chat during the lives and not just read them at the end. Oh, well, thank you so much. And I appreciate the super chat. And yeah, of course, that's the whole point of a live interaction. I love it. And I appreciate everyone, even with differing opinions. I love it. You're all more than welcome to be here. Everyone's more than welcome to have their own opinions. And I love being able to discuss it with you guys respectfully and to bounce ideas off one another. That's my favorite part of going live, really, with all of this. Hi, Shay.
Hey, I'm back.
You're back, and I didn't even get to the article. I'm reading it now, I promise.
It's okay. I figured I'd come back and you'd get back to work and quit yelling at people.
Yeah. I also do my own sound effects.
This I know. I don't know where Angel D is because he loves your thigh slapping. Or she, sorry.
Oh, God. I know, Sea King. I know. Okay, so this is exclusive. Is that all you've got? Expert slams Brian Kohberger's attempts to undermine the FBI's DNA evidence linking him to the Idaho murders and say tactic reeks of desperation. So investigators used genetic genealogy to tie DNA found on a knife sheath left at the crime scene due to Kohberger's father after it came up blank on their database. Kohberger's defense team has sought to pour scorn on this method, characterizing it as an unreliable and bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment. But legal and scientific expert told DailyMail.com the tactic smacks of desperation and that the DNA evidence against Kohberger was pretty damning. So the DNA evidence against Idaho murder suspects Brian Kohberger is damning, a genealogical expert has told DailyMail.com, as his defense team seeks to confuse the jury over its reliability. DNA is set to be at the center of the grisly murder case in which Kohberger, 28, is accused of stabbing to death 4 University of Idaho students in a savage attack last year. His attorneys have sought to sully methods used by the FBI that led them to their suspect, and even suggested Kohberger's DNA could have been planted by detectives. The defense has honed in on the modern technique used by prosecutors, genetic genealogy, describing it as a bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment. The method was key to unlocking the case, as prior to that, breakthrough police had scant evidence to help them identify a suspect. See, this is the sheath. So as you can see, that snap is for the knife itself, but behind the snap is the loop. That's what goes through the belt. So in order for it to break off or be able to pull off, that would have to, like, the actual leather itself would have to, like, it's very strong. So it is set to catapult the science behind Kohberger's arrest into the mainstream, with the American public fixated on the upcoming trial. But experts have told DailyMail.com that the defense's tactics reek of desperation, with one stating, they don't have much. So how investigators found their suspect. Kohberger is accused of stabbing. Okay, we know this. Detectives found a K-bar knife sheath on the bed with the bodies of Mogen and Gonsalves. The sheath was partially under Mogen's body and the comforter on the bed, according to court documents filed on June 16th. DNA found on the sheath failed to produce any matches on the FBI database of previous offenders. So, investigators commissioned a private lab to search it against publicly available genealogy databases similar to sites such as Ancestry DNA. Investigators then built a family tree of hundreds of relatives using the same tools and methods used by members of the public who wished to learn more about their ancestors. This exercise prompted the FBI to send a tip to local law enforcement to investigate Kohberger. After collecting trash from the suspect's parents' home in the Poconos, a familial match from Mr. Kohberger's father was made to the knife sheath, according to the criminal affidavit. Investigators later took a cheek swab taken from the suspect himself, which was found to be a statistical match to the DNA collected from the knife sheath. The profile is at least 5.37 octillion times more likely to be seen if the defendant is the source than if an unrelated individual randomly selected from the general population is the source, prosecutor said in the filing. An octillion is a number equal to a 1 followed by 27 zeros. The evidence is damning. Kohberger's defense teams have launched a multi-pronged attack on this evidence, questioning the reliability of the genealogical mapping, demanding prosecutors show their workings, and even suggesting the suspect's DNA could have been planted by an investigator. In a June 22nd filing, attorney J. Watson Loxton described genetic genealogy as a bizarrely complex DNA experiment, adding that there was no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. Rather than seeing it as some sort of complex tree building that led to him, it appears far more like a lineup where the government was already aware of who they wanted to target. The attorney also said the defense was unaware of what, if any, testing was conducted of the DNA of another man that was found on a glove outside the home where the murders took place, as well as DNA of 2 other men found in the house. Last month, the defense submitted an affidavit by DNA expert Dr. Leah Larkin echoing their concerns. Dr. Larkin explained that at-home genealogy tests such as ancestry
Genealogy.
Thank you. Genealogy. When you have to read it all starts to merge together. Such as Ancestry, DNA, and 23andMe are not as reliable as tests conducted by specialized laboratories. A poor quality kit might have too few matches, or it just might have phantom matches that are not real measures of relationships. Dr. Larkin cited one example that has nearly 20 possible relationship lines listed for a match, which is considered a close match. But Rachel Fissett, a criminal defense attorney and managing partner of Zwebeck, Fissett, and Zalunodo, said their argument was undermined by the fact that prosecutors had secured a direct statistical match from their suspect to the knife sheath, subsequent to their genealogical mapping. The DNA evidence is pretty damning. It's so unlikely to be someone else. That's why the defense team has to pick at the method used to find the DNA evidence. So the jury might feel like this family tree method might not work, and so you should ignore the results that followed from there.
Well,
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, I definitely think that, we do need to get ahead of the times in terms of law,
Yep.
technology, and scientific advances. But I just feel like the number itself is so astronomical that it's shocking that it almost like either pulls people in or it pushes people away from wanting to accept it, whether like it's been litigated yet or not as part of, the truth. But I went back and like I was listening to even like some older like crime con events and different things, and I can't tell you how many different like detectives and investigators like were saying that you cannot win a case off of DNA alone. And I don't understand why the hyper focus is just on this DNA. Like that's not like the thing like that's the hook, line, sinker for me at all. It's all of the other circumstantial evidence, because technically DNA is circumstantial.
Right. Well, and DNA is huge. It is huge. But
It's new and it's
Right.
hard to explain to a jury. Like you have to have the right expert witness to be able to connect that. So I honestly believe the other circumstantial evidence is far much more prevalent and understandable.
Yeah. See, the problem is that people seem to ignore that it was a direct match. They tested Brian's DNA directly to the DNA from the sheath, and it was a direct match. What they're arguing is the method used to even get to Brian's name. So they're trying to like reverse back and argue how you even got to Brian's name. Therefore, anything after that is kind of thrown out. But either way, it was a direct match. But like Jules said, I do have concerns as far as total lack of DNA in the car. That's the major one. Not the office, it's whatever. Apartment, okay, that's a bit surprising, but the car itself, I do have concerns with that. But is it going to be enough to where no, he didn't commit this crime? I don't think so. I
think something that would be really interesting to me, just this is my like science brain thinking here, is I would want to know like how long it would take the labs to take the mixed like blood and DNA, how long that takes them to separate it and, identify where each of those comes from. Because like I'm curious, in some of these writings that we see and what we've gotten so far, if a lot of that is based on single source and not mixed culture. Like those are just things like I'm kind of interested in. Like I'm wondering like where they're at in that process. So I'd love to know more.
Yeah. And Jules says, no explanation for the total lack of DNA, meaning to me and my forensic trained brain that there was no cleanup chemical traces either. Right. And I remember everyone saying that it was indicating that there was no evidence that he even cleaned, which that would be weird too. But again, this is just what to be fair, this is just what the defense is stating in the motion. Something might come out that contradicts that.
Yeah, you're very right.
Right, exactly, Allie. I'm surprised about the car, but not even sure if it's 100% accurate until we see the test they did, and don't think it amounts to that much. It's happened with other cases before. I mean, it is surprising. I'm not gonna I will be shocked that a crime of this magnitude, and like Coroner Mabutt said, there was a lot of blood. That he was able, I mixed able and capable. If he was able of committing a crime of this magnitude and to get into that vehicle and not transfer blood, unless there is something we find out at trial, there was something he did that prevented the transfer of blood. I don't know what, like, did he have it like you said, Dextered. I don't know.
Well, Nace and I were talking about it because I was like kind of stuck on different factors of this. Like, I really think whoever did this, if I'm just logically thinking coveralls, right?
Yeah.
That just seems like the easy way to keep your body covered. Possibly if you had on some type of glove, like I'm almost thinking like a fisherman's glove that goes up high up your arm,
Ooh,
to
yeah.
protect you because it's got that rubber. But then Nace thinks that this person could have shed the clothes and put them away, got in the car and left.
But the time frame,
She thinks the
totally on board with
timing.
that.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, everybody has their own theories, and sometimes we may go back and forth. But like, I mean, these are things that people think about, and the only reason why people think about it is because it's probably been done before.
I totally would be on board with the shedding of the exterior clothes or whatever. But if we're already struggling with a time frame that works for the slaughtering of 4 people, then you're asking me to account for even more time to get undressed. And it's like, can I do that? I don't know. I mean, I guess yes, it's possible. If I'm allowing additional time for other things, yes. I mean, how much additional time would it take? I'd like to know where he was parked.
Yeah. I don't know. I have so many questions. This case just baffles me.
I know. I know. And I have this issue with them trying to leave the cameras out of the courtroom. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Just for the defense, if you're screaming that there's corruption, that there's shadiness occurring, why wouldn't you want cameras rolling to make sure that all eyes were on? And to make sure, look what happened with the Gabriela Vargas, right? The moment that
Gabrielle Vargas? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
right. The
Why do you say
moment
Gabriel?
Gabriela Vargas.
Gabriella. Gabe is like for guys.
It wouldn't be me if I didn't pronounce it differently, though.
Cucumber, whatever.
Gabriella. Wait, how do you say it?
Gabriella.
Okay, Gabriella.
Oh my god.
Gabriella.
No, Gabriella. Oh my lord.
You're like, who? Who dat?
I love you, Melissa.
Johnny's like, I was confused too. Sorry, guys. You'll eventually understand what I'm trying to say. Gabriella, Well, when
I think it's stronger with that Long Island accent in there, so it like really hooks.
Sorry. But with her, the moment that everybody found out that, hey, something was going on, right? Listen, social media can be used absolutely in your benefit. We have a lot of resources. We could be a benefit, and yes, we could not be a benefit. We could actually be a burden, and we could have, there's a lot of issues that come along with social media. But similar to Richard Allen and his defense, the same way when you are screaming that, hey, there is something going on here, there is corruption, there is cover up, there is something shady, we want those cameras rolling. We want everything documented. That way, if something happens, all eyes are watching. I would expect that from the defense with Kohberger. If you are screaming that the sheath is being placed, that backdoor methods are being used, that there is some type of conspiracy going on here. I would anticipate that you want those cameras rolling to document and have all eyes watching, not asking to shut the door and have those cameras out of the courtroom. Gabriella.
Oh my God.
I had my argument.
I'm going to put you on court TV with Vinny.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Jules says, yeah, the camera thing is questionable, right? Like, if you are at that point, if there is shadiness and you can't trust officers and even court officials and jailhouse guards, you would need the public as your aid, right? Because you're dealing with a conspiracy at a higher level. So the only thing that would work towards your aid is having those cameras there so it's rolling, and the moment anything sketchy occurs, that nothing could go hush hush under the rug, that no, we are seeing it. And just like with Gabriella Vargas, we're going to be screaming, what's going on here? We saw that. Excuse us, like type of deal. We can be an aid. We can be a benefit. And so for you to say, no, we're going to just scream that this is, your actions are not aligning with your words, unlike Richard Allen's defense, which I'm sorry, whether or not I believe in the Odinist cult ritual sacrifice, their actions are aligning with what they're saying.
Okay. But I have to say this.
Go ahead.
If you look past the Odinist stuff, what you will find in there, according to what the defense has looked through the discovery and the evidence presented, that there has been stuff that they feel that is been legitimately left out and flagged by law enforcement as other theories to this case. And I think that's crucial. And I would hope that if something comes about and the same thing is happening with this case, that we would have a second look as well. I think it should happen all around, because technically, like the defense, they're in there trying to hold the prosecutors, accountable as well for what they are putting forth through the state, So I do see it as a big deal that the defense doesn't want the cameras in there, because I feel like it's more onus on them to want to show and expose that than the prosecutors. Say you?
Did you say you?
Mm-hmm. Whatever,
Say
Gabriella. Oh my God.
You ended that out with say you. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You make great points too. I don't know.
What do you mean? I made bomb ass points.
Yeah, you make bomb ass points.
You?
Say you.
Gabriella, God, I love you. I have a list going of words that you pronunciate differently than I do. On top of the list of things you've never tried before.
Oh yeah, Jody is cool. Yes, Richard Allen confessed 5 or 6 times. Jill says bomb ass points. Say you.
Thanks, Jules. Oh my God. Jules, do you catch on to the accent real heavy? I don't know, maybe just being from Texas. It's got that strong. I love it.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, people say it to me all the time.
I love it. I worked with a group from New York for a very long time, and a lot of them were from Manhattan and Long Island, so it was I don't know, I got used to it.
Yeah.
You feel like home. I don't know.
Well, and you're right, Tony, and I've said it so many times, you know, like the way that you could take the same sentence, yet the way I say that sentence versus the way Shay says that sentence is going to be interpreted two completely different ways. So reading it from a transcript, same way with especially like Dylan's testimony, like we were discussing earlier, it's going to be very controversial, right? So let's say that her testimony is that, yes, she heard these noises, but she didn't think anything of it. Like she explained it away in her mind. People aren't going to be satisfied. It's going to be controversial no matter what. But if you can read her body language and you could see her facial expressions and you could hear the way she's saying it, you may feel differently based on how she is communicating it. Now, you may feel like, oh my God, I believe her. Like you could see the emotion, you could see the fear, you could see that. Or you might be like, oh no, bullshit. I don't believe this at all. This is you. She's trained. She's looking at her lawyer. You know what I mean? You can't get that from a transcript. You can't get that from biased reporters tweeting it back to you. So I don't think it's fair.
I don't think it's fair.
It's not fair.
Oh my gosh, it's not fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah, I'm curious what the judge is going to roll on now. I mean, I think we've been kind of doing the refresh on stuff, and I've been checking now, like Joel's, ever since we were looking at that like September 8th stuff. I've been refreshing and checking the case summary because I feel like things are just sliding in there.
Like what?
Well, because you know how I was explaining to you that the date that's listed on the court docs is going to be the date that it was signed, not the date it's uploaded.
Yes.
And so now I'm just checking the case summary and seeing like if anything's been uploaded and trying to see if there's any variances there. Like I kind of feel hoodwinked by Idaho with this, even if it's not like a big bombshell. To me, like just going over like some of the orders and stuff, or sorry, the Amazon like warrants and stuff, I think it does kind of reiterate and that we know that my assumption, the knife has not been found yet, or the
I don't think the
weapon, and I
don't
think that they're using.
to.
Yeah, I think that they're definitely going to be relying the prosecution on the digital breadcrumbs to win this trial. And I think that's what we I personally have said from the beginning, that this case is going to be on tech and data. And in my opinion, I felt like that would be where they would have the strongest holding. Now, I don't know how advanced Brian was in his cloud forensics and if he is the person, if he could do away with certain things or not. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is all very unknown to me.
Mm-hmm. Jewel says, thanks for all the info on the docs.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, OPD.
And I was going to tell her, and I did go look at that Spillman stuff when she said it. I went and I looked at Idaho stuff, and I saw it was like listed on the Washington warrants, like the Spillman case number. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe that's the systems that they were using, but they weren't ever referencing a case number. So it was weird. It was like left blank on all of the Washington search warrant papers.
Danger zone facts. We know about ISP. They illegally coerced a false confession from an upstanding doctor and ruined his reputation in business, adjusted and lied about vehicle on CCTV, pursued known wrong evidence.
Are you talking about the Brady violation one?
I'm not sure.
I think that's what he's talking about. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some devious people in law enforcement investigation, and there's going to be some good ones. You got to weed out the bad ones. Because you definitely don't want your society running rampant with crime, but you also don't want people wrongfully convicted.
Yeah. Well, and Princess Scary, I think absolutely, again, I think it's going to come out that Dylan absolutely did hear. We know she heard cries, and we know she heard thuds. The neighboring camera picked up the audio, okay? Dylan was in the same floor. You know, she was on the same floor right down the hall, wood floor. Come on, she heard. Now the question isn't did she hear things? She heard things. It's did she know what she was hearing? And that's the question we need the answer to. And if the answer is no, then why did she not feel comfortable enough, I guess, to just go roaming the house by herself? At what point did you try to get into Xana's room, summon the friends to open that? Why wasn't contact ever made with Maddie or Kaylee on the 3rd floor? Because as far as we know, nobody ever went to the 3rd floor. These are questions that we're going to have. But unfortunately, like I said, we have to wait till trial to get any type of answer for it.
Yeah. And I was just like going over Danger Zone's comments, but I think we kind of gravitate towards certain parts of the case that like puzzle us, like what sparks our interest. Not to say like it as in a whole we are interested in and wanting justice for, but for some people that go really hard in certain areas, mine has been the butt, and I've not been shy about it. Like that's what I've done one of my deepest dives on. I have a lot of concerns about her and her conduct and the way that some of the stuff that was shared will hold up in trial. And I'm really nervous about that. I really am. I can't say I've ever really felt that way about a case more than I have this one. Is the processes and protocols, they could have easily broken any kind of chain, whether it's through evidence or process, and stuff just have to be omitted completely that could have potentially, if done properly, be what puts the criminal behind the bars.
Right.
And I think it's a lesson to all law enforcement. I do think there's really great law enforcement. I am pro law enforcement, but I'm also pro being educated and doing the right thing and not cutting corners.
Absolutely. And I hate when people just listen. There are some corrupt law enforcement. That doesn't mean all law enforcement is corrupt. And I hate when people lump law enforcement into like just one category altogether. There are corrupt police officers. There are corrupt judges. There are corrupt teachers. There's corrupt, like doctors. There's corruption everywhere, but you can't just lump the entirety of something as corrupt. That's not fair. So yes, corruption does exist. That doesn't mean as a whole corruption is within law enforcement. Remember the judge hand wrote on one of the documents that there were questions about chains of custody, but didn't say for what. Well, I don't remember that. Do you remember that, Shay?
Yeah, so there was questions about the chain of custody whenever I believe it was the sheath, like DNA was going to the Texas labs. And remember, they ended up changing course and going through FBI. And there was a response that they had the DNA secured, I believe, by 1 to 2 officers at all time. But again, I don't know that full protocol. Like, I feel a little bit more comfortable in certain areas that I'm able to educate myself on and dive in deeper. But that part, I don't know.
You're a pain in my butt.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah. I was gonna put you on blast for this, Melissa. And I don't know where B Crumbs is, but we still want our dumpster fire emoji.
I'll have to see if I'm eligible for a membership emoji, but if I am, I will give you your dumpster fire. That's so funny. Hi, Amber.
OCD Shy, you still have my blue flame, but you missed it earlier. We had up the your favorite pictures with the stick figure coloring, and we had our crowns out. Oh, there's B Crumbs.
Hey, Riddler. Yeah, of course you show up now, B Crumbs. Of course you just.
B Crumbs has been lurking lately.
You're lurking in that dumpster, aren't you, B Crumbs? I see what you're doing.
B Crumbs is with Pablo Escobar.
I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Dropping off those shady dealings behind that dumpster. Hey, Riddler. No more dumpster talk.
Oh, come on. We're a little trashy. I'm just kidding.
Really, so trashy.
Just
But
kidding.
yeah, again, like, listen, I'm eager to. So this is going to be an audiobook. It's going to be eligible for too.
Yeah.
So it's released today. I
It's
can't
called
imagine it's that long.
When Idaho Slept.
When Idaho Slept. And so he said if you've been like a true crime buff and a follower, you'll know about 75-80% of the information within it, but you'll still be interested in it. Brian's name isn't even mentioned until more than halfway through the book, but Papa Rogers and those types of theories and speculations are included. The first half really dives into memorializing the victims, but Dylan's dad did speak with him, did share some parts, but I'll be honest, I don't expect to see more than he's already shared. I think he shared the brunt of it to get people in, if that makes sense, because that is exactly what's pulling us in, right? Dylan's dad spoke out, like,
Yeah.
I gotta, like, and so I don't expect to see more from Dylan's dad in there than he's already shared with us.
For sure.
What?
Ever since this cookies thing, TF and I send back cookies, and it always reminds me of Bernie Mac, the segment with the cookies, with the milk and cookies.
No.
You don't what?
No.
Okay. All right. Bernie Mac. Love him. May he rest in peace. Comedian. You never listen to his comedy or shows or anything?
Not really, no.
Okay. Well, it's really funny. It's like your little kid comes downstairs and gets caught going in to get a snack late at night. It's like, I want some milk and cookies. And so it's just, you have to listen to it. It's hilarious.
I'm sorry.
It's one of those cultural things that sticks with your mind. Him downstairs. There you go, B Crumbs. Thank you.
There you go. At least you had someone.
Don't you hate I'm just adding this to the list. Angel D! Where have you been? She's been thigh slapping.
Oh, I am. I'm wearing shorts. I got the thigh slaps. I'm sorry. Jumping into, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, you do have to rewatch. It was interesting information. But we'll not read, but we'll listen to the audiobook, and we'll let you guys know for anybody who isn't gonna read it and wants a recap and wants to know what was in it. We'll let you guys know.
No, what do you mean we? I will, because I'm going to be reiterating it.
I'll go live, but Shay will let you guys know.
I was like, I'll share the audio with you. You're like, no, why don't you just give me a recap?
Shay will text me what happened. I'll go live, and then she'll come up on panel, and we'll let you guys know.
Or I'm gonna have to bump it up to you again, and you're gonna forget it.
If it was a video, I'd watch it. But if it's an audio I just can't, unless you tell me there's something. No, it's good. Then I'll figure it out. But what am I supposed to look at if there's no visual? What am I supposed to do when I'm listening to it, Shay?
Okay, you realize you do lives, and your way is visual, but you talk through all your stuff too.
You don't realize how animated I'm being. My camera might not be on, but you hear the thigh slaps. What do you think I'm doing?
But we need to have the camera on then. You gotta match. You gotta match the energy that you want to get back.
This entire time, what do you think I'm doing? Don't you hear the wind moving? That's because my hands are going.
No, that's your fan. That is your fan.
No, actually, my fan have been my hands this entire time.
You have a handheld fan?
Just Italian hand movements create a fan in itself.
Wait, you have a handheld fan?
No, that's just how much my hands move. I'm circulating air.
You talk with your hands?
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah. You are Italian.
Italian. Of course
you
I talk with my hands.
All up everywhere.
Wait, you have fans for your hands? fan hands.
Hands make your dance.
What did you think I have? Like two, like, like
I just thought you were like holding the fan in front of your face, and I'm like, really?
fingers. You think I like whip out like at the end of my arms? I'm just like two. You know, like the handheld fans that, like, in the olden days, they used to open those, like, things that, like, they would.
You thought like the accordion fans?
Yes. Like, what do you think? At the end of my arms, I have like two accordion.
God, no. I just thought you were like holding a little handheld fan in front of your face for some reason. I don't know.
I don't have hands. I have fans.
Oh my God, you're going on.
Oh my God. All right. I don't know. Okay, sorry. Guys. All right. I'm going to get off, but you guys, we are going to be over. We're gonna. I'm gonna make you a little animation of me with fans.
I'm picturing like Edward Scissorhands, but like Melissa Fan Hands.
That's all. Fans.
Oh shit.
I'm gonna share it with you guys tomorrow. I'm gonna make a fucking photo of myself with fans instead of hands.
Please let me draw it. Woofy, where are you?
Oh my God. But yes, ATS News is going live 8:45 Eastern, so 3 hours, 15 minutes with Idaho 4 biggest questions and mysteries. So be there or be square.
Like a box fan.
Be there, be square. It's $21 for 3 hours. That's an expensive audiobook. Booberry!
Hi, Booberry.
It's my Booberry. I'm wiggling my fans.
Oh my! I just heard no. No.
You can't see it, but they're fanning away.
Have you ever acted like in a haunted house? Like been like one of the actors?
No.
Oh, it's fun. It's something you should definitely do.
Why do I appear like someone who has been an actor in a haunted house? Boo!
No comment. I feel like you're gonna yeet me right out of here. Enjoy your fans.
Yes, thank you for coming up, and thank you for all of your help. And Shay will be listening to this book, and we will be bringing you the most exclusive inside information regarding it as soon as she listens to it and let you know what happens. So,
Amber. Did you say Amber?
Yeah.
Amber, were you here the day when it was my first live watching Melissa where she did an Idaho live and it like derailed because her ADHD squirrels went off and she was looking at fan beds for like an hour?
Fans made for underneath your blanket is the most glorious thing you could invent, because the whole point is you want to be cozy underneath your blanket but not hot. You want to be comfortably wrapped in your blanket. So a fan built for underneath your blanket is glorious. Or if you have fans, you no longer need to worry about it. Okay?
Okay.
I
don't know. I think they need like a fan for in the car for your hoo-ha. That's just me. Oh, I could do without the bed one. It's more the car.
That's
it's
all
hot.
the vans.
Vans. Or whatever, pans.
Fan.
Oh, shit.
Oh, what happened to the live? Oh, sorry, guys. Remember earlier when I asked if we were attention deficit too? This is what I meant. This is what I meant. Oh, man. Yeah. make sure you like the live if you have a hand. And I will.
Did you tell them what case we're going to go over soon? A cold case?
Go ahead, tell them.
No, you tell them.
No, you tell
We're going to go over the Lauren, and people pronounce it Spire or Spire case. That's been cold for over 12 years now. So that's like pretty big one out of Indiana.
One of the biggest really unsolved cases in general in the United States.
Yeah. It's like I've seen it in several like top 5, top 10 most bizarre disappearances. So we've been deep diving on it, and then we're going to do as part of the cold. Like it's not really a cold case. They say it's still active, but it's unsolved, and it's one that's definitely interesting and gets people thinking because there's a lot of people involved, and we'll come up with some visuals and stuff to go through it.
Yeah, we're going to try to put together a nice visual presentation so you guys could follow along and have something to look at. And we're really looking forward to bringing that with you guys. So we'll do a nice old rewind case. That's definitely going to be a rewind case. And hopefully anybody, it looks like Jordan is into that case. And so I look forward to that. That's going to be nice. Would cover Natalie Holloway, definitely, especially with everything that's going on with Vandersloot, right?
Yeah, and actually, I remember I sent you guys some stuff, but I think we materialized over to the John Bonet. But I'm really interested. She brought up the Natalie Holloway. I'm interested in those emails that between like Vandersloot, his dad, and all the stuff that Vandersloot and his friend is no longer an email he has active, but they were able to verify it was one he had, and it was through a media source that did that. And they're saying that, in these emails, Vandersloot alludes to him and his father like getting rid of Natalie's body. Yeah. And I'm just so interested in
I haven't seen
understanding
them, but yeah, we should see if we could find them because that's really interesting.
I think like to this point, like they got to go through kind of the trial process, but I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of starts popping up more in the near future, especially now that he's on US soil.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think we should.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to get down now, or we'll be talking bands.
Yeah, I get to it. But thank you, Shay. I love you. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye. And thank you all so much. You guys are awesome as always. I appreciate every single one of you for being here and being classy as always. All opinions are welcome as long as you can communicate that respectfully. And you guys are amazing as always because you always do that. I will see you over at ATS News' live later at 8:45 Eastern for Idaho 4 biggest mystery and questions surrounding the case. Shout out to Jules of All Trades channel and Alex Erickson's channel. They are also amazing creators who cover this case and many other cases. And I'll be dropping their links also. So I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. I will see you later tonight. And other than that, I will be on tomorrow. So have a wonderful Tuesday.